VMware Cloud Foundation, or VMC on Dell EMC is the official news. So it's so I'm with the IoT and Edge division within Dell Technologies, and we think this is a really important offer for customers, enabling our customers to have that sort of public cloud experience, not only within having the VMware Cloud Foundation available on in the cloud, but also running on premise. So you take your pick of where you want to run your compute, at the edge, whether it's your own data center, or a branch office. You get that VMware abstraction layer that and you can also use back in the back cloud, some remote cloud, and you get that sort of public cloud experience on premise. So you don't have to worry about deploying and managing all that infrastructure. That'll be done by VMware or partners. You just focus on your business and your application. So we think it's a really important offer for the inevitable need to run more compute at various different edges.
Yeah, and when it comes to IoT, how will this help companies to provide more benefits from IoT?
Yeah, I think, IoT, there's IoT and Edge are kind of hand in hand, these days. This notion of needing more compute distributed across various different edges, so many devices coming online. We see a lot of customers, whether they're in retail, where they just don't have good connectivity to the cloud, manufacturing, where they have to run compute locally because of the need for uptime or just the bandwidth available and the amount of data. We think that the VMC on Dell EMC offer will just give customers easier access to compute on premise for the inevitable need as more and more IoT devices come online and these use cases. So it's tightly coupled.
Yeah.
And of course, there's kind of like the VMC, also the VMC, the data center side, that we announced this morning, and then there's also more kind of an edge component for branch office. So a lot of flexibility in it.
Mm-hmm. Which are the biggest threats when it comes to IoT?
The number one thing with IoT and devices in general is it's just keeping things updated. It's making sure that stuff is following like good security paradigms. Many of the breaches that you see happening tend to happen in the consumer space. Like all the cameras that were, took down the internet in the Northeast in the U.S. a couple years back because of the DDoS attacks, and that was like a small set of credentials getting into all these cameras because they made it very easy to not change your password, or you couldn't change it at all. So some basic stuff like just change your password, whatnot. But the threats are really around where people aren't following like some of those core principles. The challenge that we see today is there's so many different platforms out there, different stacks, and everyone's kind of mixing security and manageability tools all into the application side of things, that if you have a bunch of different use cases and you use several different platforms that have domain knowledge in your use case, you end up with that many different ways of securing and managing things. And that's not really scalable. And that's why from a Dell Technologies standpoint, we're investing in this notion of consistent infrastructure. There's the compute layer that we announced here at the conference. Pulse IoT Center from VMware is all about managing your things at scale. From a threat standpoint, it's watching for certainly just the basic deployment and securely onboarding devices, but also watching for anomalies that happen. Once you set up an IoT device, generally the behavior is fairly predictable. So now you're looking for threats that are anomalies from the kind of normal behavior. So there's just all kinds of different tools that we could talk about. But
so could it be that we now are at the situation that the security is that poor that we can't develop IoT as fast as we would like to?
I don't think it's security. I think security is very, very important, of course. I think the tools are generally there from a security standpoint. It's knowing how to apply them. Doing it at scale can be challenging in terms of applying the right tools. As I said before, most of the breaches we've seen, almost no security was applied. There's been issues where people didn't change their passwords, just walk right in. didn't have segmentation between the building network and the IT network, and credit card payments get, or numbers get stolen. There's been public things. The tools are generally there. It's really about knowing how to deploy them and simplifying how to deploy them. So I don't think security is the big challenge. I think the biggest challenge right now is just the sheer fragmentation in the tool sets to be used. All the protocols out there, operating system choices, hardware choices, and the crazy number of platforms we see. I mean, there's hundreds of IoT platforms, and customers are just like, I don't know what to pick. And so for us, it's like, how do we give you this consistent foundation, the right security and management tools, agnostic to underlying hardware. Of course, we make it work best on Dell hardware, but you've got to be able to kind of mix and match because it's heterogeneous. So where I can give you a foundation that you can build on and then choose your cloud that you want to work with without feeling like you're getting locked into it. That's actually one of the biggest challenges. And even above all that, it's just finding the right use cases where you've got an outcome you're trying to achieve and then you back into the right technology. So once you have that, as Dell Technologies, we want to help you start with a foundation that you can grow with and kind of get to the true potential because you're not locked into one tech stack. The applications above.
Okay, thank you so much.
Thanks.